This week's Haftarah has God telling the prophet to deliver a message to Jerusalem, saying, you've been guilty of bloodshed and your idols and your failure to execute justice for the widows and the orphans and all that. And it doesn't explicitly mention offerings in this case, although very often God does say, what care I for your fatted rams, etc., etc., but that you execute justice within your gates and all that sort of stuff, right? It's establishing priorities. Now, it doesn't explicitly say anything about the offerings in this case. It does refer to bloodshed, and that you've spilt blood, meaning people are guilty of murder or carelessness, a sense of callousness with other people's lives. But it shows a sharp contradistinction to the Torah reading itself, which details the service of Kippur. And the fact that Jerusalem is singled out, yes, it was the political capital of the nation, it was the center of the nation, but it was where the temple was. I think there's a bit of an implication there that this is what Kippur is meant to be. A sense of introspection, a sense of repentance, reconsideration, reevaluation. And the people here were doing the exact opposite. You think you can just bring offerings to the temple and that's it. It doesn't work that way. It's not like you can transfer your sins onto an animal and then the animal dies in your place. It doesn't work that way. There's no such thing as vicarious punishment or vicarious repentance. The offerings are part of the procedure, but they're only part of the procedure. You need true repentance. And anyone who says, I will sin now and Kippur will atone for me, Kippur doesn't atone for him. You are missing the point. You think you can bring the offerings in the temple, follow the rules, I'll be a good boy, but I'll do whatever else I want. That's not it. Not only is that not good enough, but you got your priorities backwards. It would be much better if you never brought an offering in the temple again, and you were good to each other, and you followed justice in the community. Of course, you're meant to do both. But I genuinely believe that God is saying to itself, God's self, if only they would just forget about the Torah for a few minutes and be nice to each other. We can get back to the Torah later. I, says God, in my imagination here, am infinitely patient. I can wait for them to come around. In the meantime, humans are messing each other over. Start with that. So, when you hear people say, look, I'm a good person, does it really matter whether I keep kashrut, whether I keep Shabbat? Yes, it does. God gave you those commands and he wants you to do it. But it's not enough either to say, I keep kashrut and I keep Shabbat, and forget about being decent people to each other, about following through on justice. The same God who commanded kashrut, who commanded Shabbat, who commanded prayer, who commanded tefillin and talit and all of those things, also commanded that if I cause damage because I left something in a public road and you trip over it and you get hurt, I've got to pay you for that. It's the same God and it's the same Torah. So don't get so caught up in being religious that you forget to be a human being. Shabbat Shalom.